Now, often most of the drama in Formula 1 is due to things outside of the race. And Formula 1 has definitely become a sport of connections and personality rather than necessarily always performances on the track. However, when strange decisions are made, I think it is good to talk about them. And this is why this Red Bull situation just explains how bad Red Bull are as a Formula 1 outfit. Now, Red Bull as a whole are kind of seen as that drinks brand, maybe not necessarily the smartest when it comes to making decisions, but they always have their marketing in plan really well and also prioritize, you could say, the better things, such as Max Verstappen, who has now won 4 world championships in a row. Quite clear to say that the Red Bull driver program for juniors hasn't been working over the last couple of years, and the fact they have a sister team being Racing Bulls, you would expect them to have that progression straight to the top, but it is clear they do not have that. Now, this comes with, of course, the decision that Red Bull have made to get rid of Liam Lawson after just 2 races and bring Yuki Tsunoda in for the Japan Grand Prix. Now, I'm not really sure, and I don't think it's clear if this is going to be a long-term solution, but at the moment it kind of looks that way. But it also could be a thing for a few races where they can compare the both of the drivers, and Yuki can get that Japanese buff, obviously being his home race coming up. Now, I think the decision to promote Yuki in this role isn't really upsetting a lot of people. Yuki is clearly a driver well respected among the grid, and I think the fans understand that, and he has definitely earned his time in a Red Bull seat at least once with his consistent good performances in that Racing Bulls, even this year and obviously the years before, where they haven't been the best, but considering the car's level, I do think he's improved a long way since he first started. But I do think the major question is, why even have a driver program? Why even have a young program system where you get people into your Racing Bulls team and then to the Red Bull if you're not going to use someone that has actually proved his wellness and greatness in that car for a long time, which is one of the major criticisms when Liam Lawson got the seat in the first place just a couple of months ago. And now Liam Lawson obviously hasn't had a very good 2 races so far. He's got 0 points, he has not looked competitive at all, and he's been struggling to even get out of Q3, coming P20 in China, which is obviously a bad thing. But F1 is a sport of patience, and at the end of the day, Red Bull should have known that this was going to be some seething problems when you got Liam Lawson in, considering his experience, and considering they were so on and off of when they take decisions to get rid of some drivers and keep some drivers, it just doesn't really make much sense. You know, with Carlos Sainz is a great example. They didn't really want to give him the time to improve, and of course there was other suitors for him, and he's had this incredible career at many different teams, but this isn't been the only time that Red Bull have kind of fumbled the bag. You think about De Vries, they didn't give a chance for ages, and then they did, and it was a complete mess, and they got rid of him within 11 races. You look at the whole Gasly and Albon situation, where they have both gone on to do brilliant things at other cars because they were given time and some sort of experience, which even both of them at that Red Bull car wasn't given over a season, which really didn't help their progression, and they proved themselves in that Racing Bulls. And then that leads to Yuki. I mean, Yuki is a great driver, and I don't think necessarily he was going to do too much in this Red Bull. I don't think even now he's going to do too much in this Red Bull car, but I do think there is considerable resources not given to that second car, and it is clearly just a bad place. Everyone who goes there has struggled, even great drivers before like Perez, even Albon and Gasly, you could say, and it's not really fair to just put all that blame on Liam Lawson. And I also think how Red Bull do things is just quite frankly not good enough. They don't tell their drivers when they're getting dropped half of the time. They willy-nilly drop people and blame it on them like it isn't their problem with the car and how they have been doing things as a team. And then when they don't win the Constructors' Championship, they blame that other driver. But that is your fault for giving all your resources to Max Verstappen and only really caring about him. You know, McLaren don't do that. Ferrari don't do that over the last couple of years. And you can argue that has let them not win the Drivers' Championship, but you've got to take one or the other. You can't necessarily win both, and it was always going to come when Red Bull was slowly getting that slower car. And I do think you have to look at the decision makings at Red Bull. I think obviously Christian Horner is a massive guy about this. It's the whole thing with Daniel Ricciardo. They gave Daniel Ricciardo that seat in the second team because he liked him so much, and I don't think he did brilliant, and I don't think he deserved that seat over Yuki, let's say, but they kind of just threw him out halfway through the year and gave up, and it just didn't really make much sense. And then you partner that up with the fact that they got rid of Franco Colapinto before the season started, and I've heard rumours that they potentially wanted him to be their racing pool driver instead of Lawson on a loan, and obviously Alpine rejected that. He's probably going to get that Alpine seat by the end of the season, or at least in probably a lot closer than that, with doing obviously kind of being up against it. But Colapinto is also a guy that they just gave up and threw out, and they could have just kept him, could have gave him that seat this year. And I actually think Hadjar's a great pick. I think Hadjar will be brilliant, and I like Hadjar a lot, but I just think that they don't really have much sense. Why keep Yuki in that team and not let him sign other contracts away? And then, oh yeah, you need a problem, let's bring Yuki in. Yuki will probably end up leaving anyway at the end of the year. You've got to think Aston Martin will probably be linked to him at the end of the day, and it just is a complete absolute horror show from a team that have been so dominant over such a large period of time recently, and a team that you just don't expect to make these mistakes. You don't see Mercedes make these mistakes, you don't see Ferrari make these specific mistakes, you see them make other ones, and I just think that there's got to be a change to the leadership in Red Bull. They're clearly the worst run team, I think, in Formula 1 when it comes to drivers at the moment, and the disrespect that they have shown to a lot of these people is not good enough. I love Yuki, and I think he should have got the seat in the winter, but that is not the point of this decision. You've given him 2 races, you've given him no chance, and Liam will never be able to make that up again to them. They will never give him another shot, and he'll just be wasting his career in that second seat where he'll never get another chance. It just doesn't really make much sense. I feel for all of them. I think Yuki hopefully will do a good job, but even then I'm not necessarily sure, and I don't think it's really the driver's fault at all. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.